The air in the courtroom was thick, so thick it seemed almost to be alive, not only with the weight of law, but with decades of deception, secrets, and a silence that had hung far too long over the Brown family. The reporter's whispers outside could not compete with the hurricane smoldering in Christine Brown's eyes as she approached. This was not testimony. This was revelation. Christine held a manila folder to her chest like it were live dynamite, and in so many senses, it was. The judge nodded. Mrs. Christine Brown, you may proceed. She didn't hold back. I'd like to begin with a bank statement. The clerk accepted the papers, blank sheets filled with scribbles of ink, charts of red and yellow lines that resembled a battlefield rather than a ledger. The prosecutor inched forward. Can you describe what this is? Christine faced the jury, voice firm. This is a personal bank statement, not a family account, not one of the joint ones we all were aware of. This is Cody Brown's private account, an account none of us ever knew existed. Not me, not Janelle, not Meri, not even Robyn. The room gasped. Even the judge's brow rose. Christine's finger came to rest on a line. This $50,000 deposit, 3 months before I announced I was leaving. Look where it came from. A joint business account, the one all 4 wives put money into. Cody shifted in his chair, lips set thin but remained silent. I only learned all this, Christine went on, because one of my children attempted to open a new bank account. They entered Cody's name onto our home network, and it auto-filled that trail. Led me here. She held up the paper. This is what I discovered. The prosecutor moved in closer. So you are saying Cody made clandestine transfers of family funds into a private account? Yes, Christine replied without hesitation, and there were several deposits. She turned the page. 2,000 here, 37,000 there. Every transaction dated, everyone marked. These weren't bills, not refunds, not bonuses for filming. These were intentional, secret withdrawals from our collective funds. Funds we never once talked about in our Sunday family gatherings. Objection, Cody's attorney snapped. There is no evidence my client didn't disclose to his family. Christine's voice cut across the room like ice. We kept minutes at every meeting every week for more than 5 years. I have them all here. She raised another folder full of signed, dated documents. Not once, not one word regarding these transfers. The muttering swelled until the judge's gavel called it to silence. He spoke to Cody. Mr. Brown, do you challenge the existence of this account? Cody's glare remained trained on the table. I didn't think it was important. Christine's voice escalated. Not important. That was our money, Cody. You swore everything was split down the middle. You stared the world in the eye on national television and vowed we were one family, but in secret you were stashing an escape fund. Cody's face set in a hard line. It wasn't an escape fund. It was protection just in case things fell apart. Christine's words snapped like a whip. Things didn't fall apart, Cody. You ripped them apart piece by piece in our backs. The judge held up a hand. Let's go back to the timing of the deposit. The prosecutor inquired. Mrs. Brown, did the other wives know anything about this account prior to you discovering it? Christine shook her head. Number. But when I told Janelle, she went through her tax returns again. She discovered deposit slips she hadn't even known were related. Christine brandished a 1099 form. The dates coincide, the amounts coincide, and they all lead back to one source. She looked at Cody squarely. Cody attempted to get in a word, but Christine's words cut him off, not with anger, but with a solid finality. It wasn't out of spite, it was private. And in a family like ours, secrets are termites. You don't notice the damage until the walls start crumbling. The judge's eyes were staring her down. Mrs. Brown, were these expenses spent on anything the family was aware of? Christine inhaled a long, calm breath. That is where it gets interesting. She placed another document on the table. A wire transfer, Benton Hills, LLC sounds innocuous, doesn't it? But we tracked it to a Nevada PO box, a place Cody has stopped by several times in the past 3 years. The judge adjusted his spectacles. This court will require more paperwork. I have some, Christine said. She drew out grainy photographs. Cody walking into a strip mall bank in Henderson, Nevada. He told me he was meeting a tax consultant. But this, she touched the paper. This was the address of Benton Hills LLC. That wasn't a consultation, that was a withdrawal. The silence was total. The prosecutor allowed the moment to breathe before he asked, "So just to be clear, you are claiming Cody Brown created a secret account, diverted family money into it, and then transferred those funds to a private portfolio, without the knowledge of you or the other wives?" Yes, Christine's tone was steel, and that is just the beginning. She sat back, drained but unmoved. The judge adjourned for recess, but still nobody budged. Cody gazed down at his hands. Christine wouldn't even glance his way because what she had let fly wasn't merely an accusation. It was a warning shot, and everybody in that room, particularly the other wives, understood that this wasn't about one story. It was merely the start. All gazes shifted, then, slowly, to Robyn. The quiet one, the emotional one, the one who held on to Cody as the others slipped through their fingers. Her shoulders stiffened, hands clenched in her lap. She seemed to wish she could disappear, but the judge's voice sliced through. "Mrs. Robyn Brown, please enter the witness box." There was no escape now. She stood up, head down, every step a burden as if the weight of her secret held her down. She breathed her oath rather than said it. The room did not grow silent out of respect. It fell silent because everyone waited. The prosecutor moved closer, papers before him, his voice measured. "Mrs. Brown, do you have any knowledge of a personal bank account belonging to Cody Brown?" The courtroom was holding its breath. The question of the prosecutor weighted like a knife. "Mrs. Brown, are you aware of a private bank account under Cody Brown's name? One that is hidden from the rest of the family?" Robyn froze. Her eyes darted from face to face. The judge, the jury, Christine, Meri, Janelle, and finally landed on Cody. But Cody wouldn't meet her gaze. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. "I knew about an account." The words rippled through the room like a shockwave. Janelle jolted back in her chair. Meri blinked in disbelief. Christine's jaw set like stone. The prosecutor didn't bat an eye. "And how did you find out about this account?" Robyn's voice shook. "About a year and a half ago," Cody said. "It was for emergencies that not everyone had to know, especially if things got worse with the family." "You didn't ask him." "I did," Robyn suddenly blurted, near defensiveness. "He said it was for the children, that if something went wrong, if we lost money, we could rely on it." The prosecutor picked up a transcript from the table. "Mrs. Brown, were you ever told that family funds, community money, were being diverted into this private account?" Robyn's silence spoke volumes. At last, she looked down. "I had no idea where the money was coming from. He never told me. He just referred to it. Safe money." She nodded, voice constricting. "Mrs. Brown, you were on emails from a law firm in Nevada, Benton Hills, LLC. Do you know that name?" Her fists tightened. "Yes." The word was barely audible, fractured. "I signed documents for him. He said it was to consolidate assets for tax purposes." The courtroom buzzed with a murmur of shock. Christine leaned forward, not able to remain silent. "You signed LLC documents without questioning." "Why, Robyn?" Robyn's voice broke. "Because I trusted him." The gavel slammed down. The witness will respond without interruption. Robyn raised her own eyes, wet, glittering with shame. I didn't know he was accepting money from you. From all of us? I didn't know he was siphoning the family account. I swear it. The prosecutor pushed a button on a tape recorder. At once, the voice of Cody rang out in the courtroom. Smooth. Sure. Almost smug. Relax. It is all in Robyn's name now. They'll never find out. This is the cleanest way. The others will get over it. They always do. The room froze, Robyn's eyes closed tight, her hands shooting up to her face. No, I didn't know. He said that. I didn't know. Christine leaned forward, her voice low but biting. He used her. He used all of us. Robyn's hands dropped, red and shaking. That was before I knew it was all falling apart, before he said he was finished trying with the rest of you. The prosecutor's tone mellowed. And what did you tell him? Robyn hesitated. Nothing. I listened. The judge's eyes narrowed. Why didn't you say anything? Her reply cracked through the silence. Because I was scared that if I fought him, I'd lose what little family we still had. Scared that if I spoke the truth, I'd be labeled the villain. Christine's head shook slowly, not with anger, but with incredulity. You already were, she whispered. The prosecutor raised one last sheet. This is a wire transfer, $45,000, into an account in your name, a holding account. Did you know about it? Robyn nodded, barely at all. Yes, but I didn't know why. He said it was royalties from the show, that we couldn't report it on taxes, or it would complicate matters. And you believed him? The prosecutor prodded. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because I wanted to believe him. The room became intolerably silent. The truth wasn't screamed. It was delivered trembling, in pieces weighed with guilt and sorrow. The prosecutor set his papers aside. No further questions. The judge addressed Robyn. His tone was authoritative. Mrs. Brown, inaction regarding things such as these can be as destructive as action. I know, Robyn breathed softly. I know that now. She left the stand, but her steps hesitated as she approached Cody. She turned her face, eyes brimming, voice clogged with sorrow. I thought I was defending us. All I did was defend your deceptions. And then she passed him by, just as Christine had, just as Janelle and Meri had, until she sat down next to the very women she once silently competed with, no longer the faithful sidekick, now only another casualty. Cody remained motionless, paralyzed. The silence belonged to him now. Hateful, intolerable. Robyn's collapse altered the atmosphere in the courtroom. Nobody gazed at Cody with uncertainty anymore. The uncertainty was replaced by something fiercer, acknowledgement. He was not merely a husband grappling with grief. He was not merely a father burdened with domestic conflict. He was a man who had constructed a product secretly, a product concealed under decades of harmony, and then as the judge spoke up to call the next witness, Mrs. Meri Brown stepped forward. Meri stood up slowly, her movements measured, her expression impassive, not smeared with tears like Robyn, not afire with anger like Christine. She was rock, unfazed. In command, she had been silent for years. But today, she had come to be heard. She rested her hand on the oath, sat down, and pushed a small envelope along the table. The prosecutor nodded. Mrs. Brown, you've been quiet during this case. Number Meri replied flatly, unblinking. The room hummed. Christine breathed softly. 2 months before he said we couldn't afford new appliances. And only a week ago he told me the land fund had dried up, Janelle grumbled. Meri picked up her phone. It wasn't just receipts I discovered. There was a photo. The clerk held it up for the court, a fuzzy surveillance photo of Cody standing outside one of Las Vegas's fancier hotels, sunglasses on, shopping bag in hand. And by his side, a woman, fuzzy but unmistakable. The implication hit the room like a hammer. Did Mr. Brown ever discuss these expenses with you or the other wives? The prosecutor inquired. No, Meri replied firmly. When I asked him, he said it was an in and out thing. He never mentioned a thing about jewelry, hotels, or thousands of cash. And do you know what account paid for it? Yes, the last 4 digits are the same as the very account Christine revealed, the Benton Hills LLC account. Cody hit his mouth with his hand at the defense table, his eyes spilling like a man in need of flight. But there was none. The prosecutor held up the receipts. So even 2 years ago, when the family was financially strained, Cody was sucking down a hidden account for personal indulgences. Yes, replied Meri unhesitatingly, and he said nothing to us about it? The judge slumped forward. Mrs. Brown, did you ever get the feeling that this money was intended for a future with one wife, leaving the others behind? Meri's voice grew cold. I don't have to suspect. I lived it. He sat us down and told us we were reducing, that we were all suffering, that we were making sacrifices together. While I was clipping coupons in a rental house, Christine was fixing broken appliances. Janelle was selling second-hand clothes. He was staying in penthouses, purchasing bracelets, splurging on knickknacks. We weren't even worthy of his integrity. Her words stung like iron. Robyn lowered her head, unable to come to his defense. Christine's eyes flamed. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. No more questions, the prosecutor murmured. But the judge intervened. Just one more, Mrs. Brown. Why remain silent for so long? Meri paused for just a moment. Then her response sliced like glass. Because he always made us believe we were the issue. When we complained, we were bitter. When we questioned him, we were disloyal. Sometimes I thought maybe I was just imagining it, but I wasn't. We weren't. He was just really good at lying. And with that, she resigned. She didn't look at Cody, not even once. What was left of their marriage had long since been peddled secretly, broken down into receipts and Polaroids, now stretched out before the public like a freak show. The courtroom hung suspended, as if time itself had ceased moving. The word she had left behind, betrayal, rang out louder than the gavel. But the surprises weren't over yet. Not by a long way, because what followed wouldn't only sully Cody's name, it would deconstruct the foundation he had spent decades constructing, pieced together with vows and secret deals. This time it was Janelle, and unlike Meri, she didn't saunter to the stand. She marched, a fat black binder held against her chest, full of proof. She swore, then set the binder down hard. She wasn't there to guess. She wasn't there to speculate. She was there to complete what Christine had begun. The prosecutor welcomed her cautiously. Mrs. Janelle Brown, thank you for appearing. I'd like to discuss the land, the family land, Coyote Pass. Janelle nodded. Cody guaranteed every one of us a plot. He told us in public. He told us privately. He even guaranteed our children. The jury leaned in, fascinated. Cody sat stiff, his eyes glued to the table. But last year, Janelle went on, I saw something odd. A notice of property tax, addressed to a name I didn't recognize. Delene Morrison. I thought it was a mistake. Until I looked at the lot number. It was my home site. The prosecutor arched a brow. So you are saying the land that was promised to you had been sold in someone else's name? Yes. Her words cut through the silence, and that someone was Robyn's cousin. Gasps filled the air. Robyn's head jerked up. What? She breathed, shocked. Janelle flung open her binder and waved copies around. Here, the deed transfer for Lot 3B. It was in a joint trust with me and Cody, but a year later, it was slipped away and transferred under a shell company, Valley Root Properties, LLC. And who is the owner of Valley Root Properties? The prosecutor asked. Janelle rewarded him with a bitter half-smile. Delene Morrison, Robyn's cousin, and 6 months ago, Valley Root sold the property, making a $72,000 profit. She pushed the tax returns across the table. I followed it all. Cody formed the LLC 3 days after Christine actually departed. The profits went directly into the same secret account attached to Benton Hills, LLC. The judge leaned forward, eyes sharp. So you're testifying that Cody Brown reassigned land promised to his wives, funneled it through a company controlled by a relative of one wife, and pocketed the profits himself? Janelle didn't blink. I'm not speculating. I'm proving it. She raised another sheet. This is a memo from the real estate broker who represented the sale. Her words, client wanted transfer via third party to prevent public eye from television exposure. That client was Cody. His words in writing. The courtroom hummed with tension. Cody's lawyer sprang out of his seat. Objection, hearsay. Before the judge could intervene, Janelle's voice rang out, unbreakable and stern. It's not hearsay, it's documented, signed. And the agent is sitting right here in this courtroom, if you'd like to ask her yourself. The judge's gavel struck, overruled. The prosecutor stepped forward again, eyes locked on Janelle. The courtroom was thick with silence, but the prosecutor's follow-up question cut through it like a blade. Did any of the other wives know about these transactions? Janelle shook her head. Her voice was even but shaking beneath, weighing in on betrayal. We all believed land was frozen. We were still making blueprints for our future, while those same lots were all ready for sale. She spread out a map, the original Coyote Pass map, each wife's dream etched out in color. Yellow for her, blue for Christine, green and red for Meri and Robyn. Then, she set down a second map. It wasn't painted with hope. It was soaking wet in red, every parcel sold, consolidated, wiped out, and at the bottom of each page one signature. Cody Brown, Christine whispered, her voice cracking. He sold our future. Meri did not speak. She merely nodded, the reality too bitter to shape into words. The prosecutor leaned in. Mrs. Brown, do you think this was deliberate deception on the part of Mr. Brown? Janelle didn't flinch. Yes, this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a slip-up. Cody knew. He crawled slow, quietly. Because he knew if we caught wind of what he was doing, we'd fight him. So, he lied. Y'all eyes moved to the bench. The judge peered down at the evidence, then stood there staring at Cody. Mr. Brown, do you have anything to say? Cody's answer was flaccid, almost read from a script. I didn't do anything wrong. I was repartnering assets. The family wasn't working. There was no deal, so I acted. Janelle's voice broke, but not with weakness, with rage. Acted? You mean lied. You mean stole. You sold property that was your children's future and channeled it into some cousin-connected shell company you barely know. Robyn said something under her breath, but Cody did not even look at her. The judge banged his pen on the desk. This is not a dispute over property. This is fraud under the guise of family discord. The court directs a forensic audit of all real estate dealings associated with Mr. Brown and his shell companies. Janelle slammed her binder shut, her voice sliced through the air like steel. I gave him my house. It turns out he sold it right out from under me. She strode off the stand. The judge ordered her up to the stand. Christine stood with a serenity that camouflaged the tempest raging within. Every step towards the witness stand echoed like a countdown. The prosecutor nodded. Mrs. Brown, thanks for coming back. What do you have to say today? Christine pulled out her folder, displaying printed emails, screenshots, a timeline so detailed it resembled the work of an investigator rather than a mother of six. "This," she started, holding up the first page, "is an email Cody wrote to a Utah real estate agent, never sent. Dated only 2 days after he told us he was staying in Flagstaff." The prosecutor leaned in. "May I read it aloud?" Christine nodded. The courtroom hung breathlessly in anticipation. "Looking for private property in the St. George area. Needs to be big enough for one family with privacy. No HOA restrictions. Must be in my name alone. Immediate. No mention of sister wives connection." Gasps emanated from the room. Christine's voice shook, not with grief, but fury. That draft was written a week prior to our final family therapy session. A session where Cody stared at me and told me he wanted to start over at Coyote Pass. He made me think that leaving was a mistake. But I realize now, I was one step ahead of a plan that I was never meant to be a part of. "How did you acquire this?" the prosecutor asked. Christine produced another page. "One of the children inadvertently logged into Cody's Google account. I saw the draft and saved it. I didn't know what it was at the time, but having seen the land sales, the secret accounts, it all makes sense." The judge held up a hand. "What other information is in the folder?" Christine flipped over the page. "A signed purchase agreement, 6 months old, for 10 acres outside Cedar City. Cody paid an $80,000 down payment under Benton Hills LLC." The room exploded. She held the paper higher. "This is his signature. The seller's agent confirmed it, and that LLC. It leads back to Robyn's ex-attorney." Robyn went white. "What? I didn't know." Christine didn't even glance at her. And it just gets worse. The land was cleared already. 5-bedroom plans drawn up, virtually the same as Robyn's Flagstaff plan. Cody looked at her for the first time. "It was just an idea," he grumbled. "Nothing solid?" Christine snapped back, her voice blazing. "An idea? Solar panel submissions, satellite connection, applications for utilities, all of them signed by you. You weren't thinking of staying. You were leaving already. Building a life without us already." The judge leaned forward. "How much land was he going to purchase?" Christine turned to the last page. 10 acres, a secluded estate, with fencing designs, GPS coordinates, even an alternate entrance for guests. The prosecutor's eyes grew wide. "Did he ever discuss this with you, any of you?" Christine shook her head. "Never once." Meri leaned in against Janelle, whispering through gritted teeth. "That is why he was so serene when we brought up those permits." Janelle's eyes narrowed. "Because he knew we'd never see those houses, he was already gone." Christine lifted one last sheet of paper. Her voice didn't shake this time. It struck like lightning. "And then there's this, an email addressed to a production assistant. It was supposed to be quiet. That was the plan. We'll keep it under wraps this season. Once filming ends, we'll make the announcement. It'll be easier that way." The judge leaned forward, repeating the word slowly, as if tasting its weight. "Transition." Christine's gaze rose, fixing on Cody. She spoke with steady tone, but the words cut through the courtroom like glass. "Your Honor, he wasn't leaving us. He was pausing for the cameras to stop rolling, so he could write the ending, stage the narrative that we abandoned, and then just disappear with Robyn. He wasn't ending a crack resounded across the room, the judge's pen shattering in his hand. "This court will insist on total access to all real estate transactions connected with Benton Hills LLC, including the one in Utah. In addition, all financial transactions connected with Mr. Brown are frozen effective immediately." Christine closed her folder. No smile, no tears, just finished. And Cody. He felt it finally, the weight. Because the trial wasn't being contained inside 4 courtroom walls, it had already been playing out in the lives he had left behind, in the promises he had broken. Now all those ghosts had names, papers, witnesses, and an overdue tab. This was no longer testimony. This was a battlefield of deceit, and each of the women, Christine, Meri, Janelle, even Robyn, broke down the deceptions one by one. The cornerstone was eroding. The most shocking moment still had not arrived. The bailiff came back, a small envelope in his hand. He handed it to the judge, who unfolded a piece of lined paper, eyebrows furrowing. This court has been submitted a sealed motion and a request to testify from an unscheduled family member. The witness requests temporary anonymity, but wishes to speak today in person. The judge looked toward the door. Is the witness present? The hinges creaked, and into the room came Logan Brown, Cody and Janelle's eldest son. The room went out of breath. Christine gasped, hand across her mouth. Janelle stood stock still, wordless. Cody's lips opened, but sound did not follow. Logan moved to the stand, not with anger, but with a hard, calculated intent. He raised his hand, swore in, and sat down. The prosecutor's tone gentled. Logan, why are you here? Logan's eyes fixed on the judge. Because I am the leaker. The room exploded. Gasps, whispers. Cody leapt to his feet. What? The judge's gavel cracked. Sit down, Mr. Brown. Cody sank back, furious. Logan didn't bat an eye. His tone was steady, unfaltering. I discovered a year ago. Initially, it was little things, odd calls, excursions that didn't make sense. Then I stumbled upon an email accidentally. It talked about Benton Hills. A second account. I had opened it, and what did I see? He hesitated, his jaw clenched. Deeds, wire transfers, properties, all done in secret. Behind our backs, I knew my mom didn't deserve it. Neither did Christine, neither did Meri. He spun, his eyes clashing with his father. And I saw you lie to Mom, to all of us, lying to us that there was no money, asking us to give up, preaching family always first, but the only one you were looking out for was you? Robyn slumped low, her face hidden in shame. The prosecutor leaned forward. Why now, Logan? Why speak today? His throat constricted. When Christine departed, I figured maybe that would be your wake-up call. But it wasn't. Then Meri departed. Then Mom was disintegrating. And that is when I realized you were never going to stop. You'd never own up. You were going to get away. He settled in, voice stronger now. So I copied everything. The accounts, the shell companies. I emailed it to Christine. That was me. Christine's eyes overflowed. Janelle shattered, crying softly. Why didn't you tell me? His own voice trembled, but remained unyielding. Because I didn't want you to hurt any more than you already did. I needed evidence. I wanted him to fall with the truth. On record. The judge looked at him. Did anyone else assist you? Logan shook his head. Number I was alone. The prosecutor then faced the bench. Let the record reflect that the confidential informant, who supplied financial and legal documents in this case, is Logan Brown, the defendant's son. Logan took a deep breath. Calm, I didn't come here to kill my father. I came here to protect the people he left behind. You told me once what it meant to be a man, to keep your family safe. Perhaps someone had to save them, not from outsiders, but from you. For once, Cody was speechless. No anger, no argument. Only an empty silence, because it wasn't a wife who had betrayed him this time. But his son, and that hurt the worst. The judge's words were weighted with finality. This evidence substantiates willful concealment. It will be heard along with all previous evidence in the court's verdict.